All right, completing the square. We're going to solve these using completing the square. So the first thing we have to notice is that completing the square only works when the a value is 1. And obviously that's a 2, that's a problem. But we can factor it and then get our a value down to 1. So what number can go into both 2, 32, and 126? Well, 2 can. So I'm going to factor out the 2, and that's going to leave me with x squared plus 16x. That's 63 plus 63 equals 0. Now, because everything in parentheses is going to equal 0, it doesn't matter what that 2 is. So I'm not even worried about the 2 now. Now let's just get right back down to this. We got x squared plus 16x plus 63 equals 0. Okay, so our first step is to get that 63 to the other side of the equation, which is easy. All we got to do is subtract 63. So now I'm left with x squared plus 16x plus, and I'm going to put the mystery value here. That's the constant that we're going to create using b squared, or b divided by 2 squared. And on this side, we've now got negative 63, but we have to include that same value because we are artificially adding it to the left side of the equation. We've got to artificially add it to the right side. So now we look at that b value. That b value is 16. That's huge. Because what that does is that's the number we're going to use, 16, to find that missing constant. We're going to take 16 divided by 2, and we're going to square it. Well, that would be 8 squared, which will be 64. So that means the number here is 64. That'll be 64. Now, I want to highlight that 8 because as we do more of these, that 8 is going to be really important. Okay. Now what we're going to do is we're going to take this trinomial, and we are going to rewrite it as a perfect square binomial. And the way we do that is we take that 8, that value that we have right here, this 8, and that's going to be our binomial. So we're going to have x plus 8 squared. And now on the other side we got negative 63 plus 64, which is going to be 1, positive 1. Okay, now we are just about here. We have to take that x plus 8. It's being raised to the second power. The opposite of squaring something is taking the square root. We'll do that on both sides. And now we've got x plus 8 equals, because it's a square root, it could be either positive or negative. And the square root of 1 is 1. Now I've almost got that problem solved. I've got x plus 8. Just got to get x by itself. So we're going to subtract 8. And now we've got x... Well, now keep up with me. Negative 8 plus or minus 1. Well, negative 8 plus 1 is negative 7. And negative 8 minus 1 is negative 9. So x is either negative 7 or x is negative 9. Just like when we did factoring, we get 2 solutions in most cases. Whenever I do a problem like this, I like to make sure it's right. So I just typed in the same exact equation on Desmos, and now I've checked it. The negative 9 and the negative 7 are correct. Here's another problem that you can try, and I'll be back with my solution in just a moment. Thought I'd do it step by step. So this is me factoring and getting the a value to 1. Now I put in the constant value, the missing constant value at the moment. And I've taken the negative 20 and put it to the other side of the equation. Now you might have noticed that I put a plus, and it's always going to be plus because you're always squaring b divided by 2. And when you square something, it's always going to be positive. So we found out that that value is 16. I'm going to put it on both sides. Then on this side, we've got x minus 4 squared equals 36. We go ahead and we do our little square root there. We got x minus 4 equals plus or minus the square root of 36, which is 6. So now I just have to do a little bit of work here. That's going to be positive 4 plus minus 6. So x could either be 4 plus 6, which is 10, or 4 minus 6, which is negative 2. Sometimes you're not going to get a rational solution all the time, so we'll have to work with that. So this problem has that situation. So we've got 4x squared minus 64x plus 76. Well, the first thing I'm going to do is get my a value down to 1, and I'm going to factor out a 4. So I've got that x squared. 4 times negative 16x would be the negative 64. And then 76 divided by 4, I'm going to do that in my calculator. Pretty sure it's 19. Yeah, it's 19. So that's a plus 19. Okay, don't care about the 4 anymore because what's in parentheses will be 0. So now, x squared minus 16x. And I'm going to put the mystery value here, the constant that we're going to figure out in just a moment. On this side, we're going to have a negative 19 plus that same constant. Negative 16 divided by 2. Right, that's going to be negative 8, and a negative 8 squared is a positive 64. So that's going to be 64, and I'll put 64 over here. Now on this side, I've got my x squared minus 16x plus 64, perfect square trinomial. That was going to be x minus 8. I got that from using this value. X minus 8 squared equals, I think that's going to be 45. And then we have the square root of both. We got x minus 8. Whoops, that's x equals x minus 8. Since we have now taken the square root of x minus 8 squared, that's going to be positive negative root 45. Okay. Now all we have to do is get that 8 on the other side. And there's going to be one more step too. Let's look at 45 and see how we could break that down. 45 can break down into 9 times 5, and then 3 times 3. So the square root of 45 can be rewritten as the square root of 3 times 3 times 5. And then we can take the two 3's. The square root of 3 times 3 would be 3. So now that will be 3 times root 5. So that leaves us with x minus 8. This is the extra step that you have to do. Plus or minus 3 times root 5. And then all you have to do is get the 8 on the other side of the equation. So I'm going to add 8 to both sides. And we're left with 8 plus or minus 3 times root 5. A little bit more work with those irrational solutions, but end up being the same. Now I know what you're thinking. How could I possibly check that on Desmos? And you actually can't, because look, this is the equation, those are the roots. And if I actually type it in, we've got 8 plus 3 times root 5. There's your 14.7082, so that works right there. And then do 8 minus 3 times root 5. And that's going to be that 1.29, and that's this one right there. Here's another one you can practice. And definitely have to get the calculator out for 1374 divided by 6. But once you get that, it should be very similar to the last problem. I'll be back with my full solution in a moment. And that's the solution to this problem. You should have 4 plus or minus 7 times root 5. The trickiest part of this, I think, was finding the prime factorization of 245. But I just used a calculator and ended up getting that pretty quickly.